I'm Samantha Hargrave, and this is my philosophy of public health leadership. I've divided my philosophy into 3 components: the leader, the follower, and the dark side. Leadership starts with leading yourself first, and for me, a growth mindset is a huge part of this. There's actually been a lot of research on a growth mindset. One study performed on children revealed that they cope with failure relatively well, and not only do they tend to cope well, they tend to relish the exciting new opportunity that failure brings. This led to the study of the dichotomy of a fixed mindset entity theory. A fixed mindset is the belief that people either have a quality or they don't, whereas a growth mindset is the belief that through recognizing potential, welcoming challenges, and being engaged in learning, we can develop new skills. Growth is a personal value and priority of mine, and I believe that introspection and a commitment to an outlook of continuous and endless growth are valuable components of this mindset. A growth mindset should be applied at the organizational level too. Further study on the topic found that in organizations where leadership had a fixed mindset, employees felt limited and less committed in the workplace. And in organizations where leadership had a growth mindset, employees felt more innovative, collaborative, and committed to learning and growing. Having a growth mindset enables us to build our strengths and participate in strengths-based leadership. Gallup's book, Now Discover Your Strengths, shows us the power in identifying, developing, and utilizing our strengths as individuals and as a team. When we identify our strengths, we know that we can build on, and we know where we best contribute to a group. Identifying strengths at an organizational level makes for a more well-rounded, efficient team of people who are more likely to enjoy their work because they're doing something they're good at. Reflecting on our past experiences and what's important to us helps us to establish our personal values. Our personal values ground us and give us a sense of direction, and this helps with making choices and leading others. Whether you're working with people or educating people, credibility is important because it creates trust. Established strengths lend themselves to our credibility. We can use our strengths to show people we're knowledgeable and capable and that they can trust in what we say and do. Established values lend themselves to our credibility as well because when we authentically demonstrate our good values, we demonstrate the nature of our direction and show people that they can trust us and in following us. After developing our mindset, strengths, and values, we can begin to lead by example. The leadership challenge refers to this as modeling the way. Taking personal responsibility, letting your values guide you, affirming shared values, and forging unity rather than forcing it are huge components of this. Studies show that leaders have the ability to influence group behavior through demonstrating their own exemplary behavior. One study in particular focused on organizational citizenship behavior, also known as OCB. This type of behavior is a person's voluntary commitment to demonstrate values such as courtesy, altruism, and conscientiousness that are not necessarily within their job description. The study found that a leader's OCB promotes group OCB directly and indirectly by enhancing the group's belief that this type of behavior is worthy. By leading by example, we can also help others develop leadership skills. In a TED Talk, Clyde Barrow talks about how a good leader is also a good follower. He also talks about followership being just as important as leadership. It's a collaboration. He discusses followership as a purpose and says that following in line is what makes an impact, and it's followers who get things done. I believe this to be true, and I also place a high value on a concept called intelligent opportunism. It's the concept of welcoming many perspectives from all levels of an organization or group, and it comes with the belief that ideas and knowledge are valuable wherever they exist. This concept is consistent with another personal value of mine, which is open-mindedness. We should also value communication. Barland's transactional model of communication tells us that communication is a circular process. It's ongoing and continuous, and it takes into consideration personality and perception of all parties involved. Communication is complex, but a valuable tool when thoughtful and well considered. Storytelling is another fantastic communication tool. In a TED Talk, Karen Eber discusses this from a neurological perspective. Processing data activates 2 small areas of your brain, but when you listen to a story, all of your lobes are engaged. Your brain activity mirrors that of the storyteller through neural coupling. Oxytocin is released in your brain, which encourages trust and connection with the storyteller. Data is important, but it can be interpreted differently by different people, and it doesn't change our behavior. Our emotions do. Our decision-making starts in an amygdala, where our emotions take place on a subconscious level. Storytelling is valuable because it can connect us with our audience, guide them through data, and be impactful in initiating change. Another piece of my philosophy is valuing trust. Not only is it important for followers to trust in leaders, but it's important for leaders to trust in followers too. The Leadership Challenge tells us that we can encourage others to act by facilitating relationships that have trust. We can do this by strengthening others. There have been times where I wasn't confident in the ability of a group member's ability to contribute quality work. But confident in their ability to contribute, I invested in trust and waited for their contribution. When it's warranted, I share knowledge and information to help improve their quality of work, and this improves their trust in me, in themselves, and my trust in them. Valuing vision is also important. Once you have a vision in mind, you can enlist the help of others with a common purpose. The Leadership Challenge calls this inspiring a shared vision. By listening to others and understanding what's important to them, you can involve them in the process of creating a shared vision. A shared vision is valuable because it brings meaning and purpose to the work ahead. And lastly, valuing success. One thing I've learned from motherhood is the power of praise. Psychology tells us that positive reinforcement is the best way to continue getting the results you want. I do something that I like to call counting my wins, and this is rooted in my personal value of gratitude. A 2013 study found that gratitude was among the most robust predictors of life satisfaction. So whether it's with my family, myself, or with a work group, I make sure to celebrate the wins, big and small. The Leadership Challenge highlights personalizing recognition and creating a spirit of community as ways we can encourage the heart of those we work with. By recognizing and encouraging those around us, we can demonstrate exemplary leadership. This leads me to the dark side: extremes, ego, and ethics. Clifton's Strengths acknowledges how when taken to extremes, our talents can become weaknesses. For example, you might have a strength in command, but when overused, it can be perceived as bossy and insensitive. It's important to be self-aware and recognize these shadow sides to avoid being problematic and maintain the health of your relationships. The Leadership Challenge acknowledges how in a leadership role we can become hyper-focused on ourselves. We can lose sight of other people's values, become closed off to feedback, and value style over substance. It's important to challenge our ego with humility. Leadership and communication acknowledges the concept of bad leadership. The hallmarks of bad leadership are selfishness, Machiavellianism, cognitive error, incompetence, intemperance, callousness, corruption, and insular, and evil. These characteristics are destructive and unethical, and exemplary leadership would not only abstain from these type of behaviors, but also intervene where this type of behavior is demonstrated. Integrity is a personal value of mine, and I believe it's important to show consistency in adhering to our values, and this includes ethics. As for self-appraisal and plans for professional development, my growth mindset is a skill I plan to continue utilizing, while working on how I cope with my failures by using the same mindset. Every mistake and failure is an opportunity for growth, and I want to try to remember this. Inspiring a shared vision is a leadership challenge component that I'd like to better develop. I'm used to independence, and I'll have to adapt this to work in a public health setting. I place a high value on intelligent opportunism. I really believe that talking to anyone, you can learn things that you might not find anywhere else, and open-mindedness is a really big personal value of mine. But I've actually been discouraged from things like this in the past, and it's not the only personal value that I've been discouraged from. So it's important to me to have integrity and in my professional development, stay grounded in my values and let them guide me. My Clifton Strengths Assessment showed me that my top 5 themes are restorative, individualization, intellection, strategic, and learner. And I plan to keep building on these strengths and being mindful of their shadow sides.